So we were speaking about land.
Yes.
So now I'm going to speak a little more about land loan, because I know you offer land loan. So for persons who are not wanting to buy a house, but they want to buy a piece of land, how do they go about acquiring a land loan from the NHT?
Well, it's the same interest rate structure that would apply. So based on where your income is, we assign that interest rate to you, whether it's buying land or a house, it would be the same applicable interest rate. And the maximum amount the NHT lends for land purchase now is $2.5 million. So you can get $2.5 million to purchase a piece of land. And actually, you get to break out your $6.5 million loan limit now in two parts, where you can get $2.5 million for the purchase of the land and $4 million to do construction.
Okay.
And I know sometimes persons I know a lot of persons don't like buy land and build, but trust me, it's cheaper. What you can get with $6.5 million to buy a piece of land and build is far more than what you would say try to get with 6.5 million. And it's not just 6.5, the same is applicable for 8 or 9 or 10 million or whatever the amount is. So I know sometimes persons don't like the construction process and they would rather just buy something ready-made that they see out of the open market. But don't knock it. Think about it. Do your research, and you probably will be able to better stretch that mortgage, or that loan amount rather, if you're purchasing a land and building, than if you're going out there to buy only. And the other variable too, Sharika, is that in Jamaica we have these pieces of land that pass down from great grandfather to grandfather and nobody know nothing with it. You know, so we have these intergenerational lands that just been passing down. You know, stop the passing down and capitalize and change that from just undeveloped idle land into housing. You know, and the NHT allows, once there's a registered title in place, you don't have to be the title holder. Title can be in a grandpa name, can be in your father name. Once the title holder can put in writing that, hey, I'm giving you legal permission to build on this piece of land, the NHT will secure your $6.5 million mortgage to do that. So you can go straight to construction immediately. And if there's no registered title for the piece of land, still come in and talk to us. The NHT has facilities in place that will help you to move it from unregistered to registered land as well. And if you need financing to do that process, the NHT again will assist you in terms of, yes, we have a very good relationship with LAMP. And NLA will assist you with the registration process as well. But you hit the nail on the head sometimes. We don't look at the options sometimes because we don't do the research. We just see the new apartment going up, we see the new house
and you
going
want
up.
it.
We want that, we see the price and we say we can't afford it, and we throw our hands in the air and say, hey, nobody can help me. No, there are other avenues that you can pursue. I want to touch on another one real quick, our cluster housing program. So each individual contributor to the NHT is eligible to get a loan of $6.5 million. But the NHT allows a minimum of 3 persons, upward to a maximum of 18 persons, to pool their NHT benefit together and undertake them own little project. So me, Sharika, you, and the sister that you say in the market looking to do something. 3 are we all right? 6.5, me alone can't undertake it. I don't see anything I can buy. Sharika and I are friends, we're co-workers, we're whatever. And her sister, I know, who is also interested. So we pooled the 6.5. My math isn't great, but I think that comes out to about 19.5.
Somewhere there.
Yeah. And we're able now to go out and look for a piece of land, right? Subdivide it. So me get my piece, Sharika get her piece, her sister get her piece. We partition it, we can put our own, separate ourselves.
Yes.
And thereafter, we can hire either one contractor, one architect, one set of service providers who's going to do everything for us. Or Sharika want a 3-bedroom. I just want a 1-bedroom. Our sister want a 2-story, whatever. She has a different housing plan. Having divided the land, we can go our individual ways and do our individual construction. So this is called the NHT's cluster housing program. So a minimum of 3 lots, maximum of 9. The piece of land, you can go and buy the land and subdivide it in a minimum of 3, maximum of 9. I will stop at 9 because legally after 9, you're no longer a cluster, you're now in a big people category. So we stop at 9. And on each lot, you can have 2 mortgages. So you can have up to 18 persons who can develop those 9 lots using their 6.5 times 18, that's a lot. That's a lot. So everybody and the NHT, as I mentioned, you can break out your loan limit. So you can break out, the NHT will make available 2.5 to each individual to go towards the purchase of the land and to put in the infrastructure. And each individual have their remaining 4 million that they can use for construction. So the housing market, I understand, is not where many of us would like it to be, which means it requires a different thought process, a different kind of innovation, and a different approach to the market. And that's why NHT brought in that cluster program, which is a different approach. One person, we understand, can't go it alone necessarily, but pool your resources in a small space with other persons, subdivide it, build your own little gated community, build out your own little plot that all of you have invested in, and that's priceless. To be able to choose who your neighbors are, to be able to choose where exactly you want to live,
want your development,
how you want your development to look. You set your own rules in there. You put in place your own security arrangements, and over time, you, as a small little close knitted group, make that space how you want it to be. That's priceless. That's priceless. That's truly priceless.
On that though, Mr. Berbick, is there a cap as it relates to the amount of money that persons have to spend there? Because I know you said a max of 18 persons, correct?
Yes.
Is there a ceiling in terms of monetary value that the cluster housing program allows persons? So if I see like I don't know if this figure would right, a $50 million, and the 18 of us come together, can afford it. Is there a cap to say, all right, you can't pass 30?
Remember your building. Remember your building. So, and you're breaking out the 6.5 in 2. So remember, each person gets 2.5. So if it's 10 persons, you know you have 25 million to buy the land.
Right.
And to put in the infrastructure. And then you will have the remaining 4 million each multiplied by 10 persons again. So you know you have 40 million to do the building.
Right.
So the only cap we have is how you can break out at 6.5. That is 2.5 for the land and 4 for the construction. And we do it that way because we don't want you to spend all the in this case 65 million. You spend 50 million on buying the land. And then
no money to
buy
build
the land. All 10 I only stand up and look for the piece of land because I can't build.
Right.
So we want to ensure that, you know, when the NHT says you finish the 6.5, that there's a structure that's habitable, that even if it's not complete, it's something you can move in. And you can go on living in the meanwhile until you know more financing become available. Or you can always pool that with additional financing from elsewhere and to do your construction till you get to where you want to.
So even with the cluster program, I can still access financing from your partners?
We will allow you to exhaust the NHT portion first. If your housing plan says you require X amount more based on, and I'm getting into technical terms, your bill of quantities saying what your building will require more than 6.5. If you can show where you're going to find the shortfall, yeah, man, we will work out something with you.
Bill of quantities. I did a video with a quantity surveyor. So I could just link that for persons who are watching who are not so familiar with quantity surveying and what a bill of quantity is that Mr. Berbick just mention.
Which is pretty much an estimate as to what you're doing and how much it will cost, how much material it will take, and how much all this material will cost for you to build what you want to build.
In a nutshell, that is what it is.
Yes.
All right. So a quick question though, as it relates to that, in terms of the application process for both the land loan and the cluster program, from start to finish, can you give an estimated timeline that you have?
The estimated timeline, all right. So NHT has what we call same-day loan approval. So if it is that you come in and you bring in all the documentation and everything is in order, we can approve your loan that day. The mortgage process itself, though, has different moving parts. You start the process at NHT, but the NHT has to interact with NLA, NHT has to interact with the stamp office, it has to interact with titles office, it has to interact with other agencies of government. So the whole mortgage process, generally between when you start and complete, generally takes about 90 days. No hiccups, 90 to 120 days, no hiccups. Can be sooner if all your documents are in order and when the NHT says, okay, bring in this, or you bring in this checklist of documents, have these 10 things you need to bring in. You don't bring in 8 and then wonder why the loan takes so long to process. You need to bring in everything. And I know that sometimes I need to ensure that I manage the expectation of persons where that is concerned. Those 90 days to 120 days assume that everything is in order. And you provide the documents as requested on a timely basis, and you play your part in terms of furnishing the NHT with the proper documentation, because the process is, as I mentioned, it's not just at NHT alone. We have to also interact with the titles office. We have to also interact with the stamp office and other agencies of government. If you're doing construction, you have to ensure that you have your building plan from the parish council that is approved. You can't just decide, get up today and say, oh, mega build.
No.
You have to build according to a building plan that will be approved by a municipal corporation. So different loan types may have different requirements, and it's the speed at which the mortgagor is or the prospective mortgagor is able to furnish the NHT with all the checklist requirements. The sooner we're able to do that processing for you. So it's up to the NHT to process it, but yes, you have a big part to play in terms of submitting your documents on time and making sure the documents are correct and are in order.
That's good. So for persons who are listening, you are doing the process or going through the process, ensure that you have all your documents in order, completed properly, and submitted within time to ensure that it is done within that 90 to 120 days. That's what, 3 to 4 months?
3 to 4 months, yes.
So is there a case where you've had persons going over the 120? Is there any legal implications for that?
There are legal implications because it's a legal process. Okay. So you would have signed what we call a sale agreement that says you're committing to complete this process within this specific timeline. But I know that vendors who in the instance where you're buying, vendors are if something genuinely happens, you can always reach out to the vendor and say, hey, I'm having this challenge, give me a little bit more time, and they'll probably give you an additional 30 days or whatever. But it cannot be a long, drawn-out, protracted period because there's uncertainty. So, because remember, it's the sale process involves not just the mortgager's deposit and the mortgage fees that they're paying. There are some fees legally that the vendor must also pay. So you have to see from the vendor's side that the vendor is not paying for the transfer to be done and all of those other things, and only to hear that, oh, the mortgage fall through and you're not able to, they would have spent their money. Which is why the deposit is sometimes important. Why vendors require a 5 or 10% deposit, because there are some fees that must be paid by the vendor, And imagine being a vendor and putting your money in it. And then halfway through the process, you get a call that say, yo, brother, I'm change my mind and I can't do this again. And the vendor's money is tied up in a process you're no longer interested in, which is why a deposit. And I know sometimes persons say, why may I pay deposit? You're wicked. I may have to find 10% deposit. It's just the legal process.
It's a surety.
And it's a surety. And it's your commitment to the vendor that hey, I'm in this and I'm in this to see this through to completion.
Shows that you're serious.
Very well.
As some persons might, you know, frown upon it or may struggle to get it, but it's a surety that you are interested and you are serious about what you are doing.
You're quite right, yes.
All right, so I think the next two questions I have on the list here, you would have answered them, but just to ensure that the persons who provided me with these questions, to ensure you hear your question and know that it was answered, it says, what if I already have land? Explain the build and own land process. And you did touch a little bit on that.
So you can get your full NHT loan amount up to 6.5 million to do construction. Once there's land, once there's a registered title for it, it doesn't have to be in your name. The title holder can write and say, I'm giving Sharika permission to do construction on this property, on this piece of land. That's fine for the NHT. We'll make the loan available to you. Of course, you have to make the title available to the NHT so the NHT can register its interest and its security on it. Well, its interest on the security being, but yeah, the title must be made available. If there's no title, the NHT has different programs that can assist you in terms of having that registered and provide the financing as well. The good thing about build on own land too is that you get a 12-month period before your first mortgage payment is due. So you so between when you the first disbursement, you have 12 months before your first mortgage payment is due. And you can understand why we do that, because it's construction. You probably may be paying rent somewhere else and not the place isn't moving ready. So we give you 12 months to do your construction before your first mortgage payment is due.
So you live rent-free, you live rent-free, mortgage-free for 1 year.
That's right.
1 full year. That's awesome. That is awesome. So I hope persons out there, you have your land, use it up. Don't just have it sitting down there. You can go to NHT, get a build on own land loan. You get the money to do your construction. You will be living in that house for 1 year, not 1 month, you know, 1 year, mortgage free. That's just awesome.